I think that would be my advice to maybe anyone out there who is shy to speak Cantonese.
Things like emotions, or like how you're feeling, is something that I don't think Asian culture really does that much.
No.
It's from Chinese.
It's just three whitewashed Asians trying to figure out what to speak in China. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Rice Among Potatoes. So today we have a fellow British-born Chinese here with me. It was really funny because we were actually talking about our similarities and differences. And I thought, you know what? We have to get you on. Well, actually, you thought that though, didn't you?
I thought we had to get him on because, well, two reasons. One, which is you're both BBCs and I'm not, so it was interesting for me to see the similarities and differences you have. And then the other reason was I'm intrigued by Tang's family situation because she has an older brother who also went to
Cambridge.
And she, of course, went to
Oxford.
So it's quite a mirror.
So you're like a mirror image of...
Yeah.
We can just stop this now. We can just go back to the other episode. But I hope you guys enjoy this content. And if you do, please like and subscribe and share with similar people who maybe not went to Oxford and Cambridge because there's not too many people that
That's
have
not the
gone
idea, I
there.
think.
But to similar people who want to learn about how it is for Asians growing up and living in the UK. So, first topic. Should we talk about being a banana?
Yes.
Do you know what a banana is?
Of course I know what a
You know what a
banana
banana is?
A fruit.
The best fruit.
The best fruit. So what's your experience being a banana?
I think definitely, obviously, like ethnically yellow on the outside, albeit I have been to countries where then they've asked me if I'm Vietnamese, if I'm Japanese, if I'm Korean. So it's sort of still maybe yellow in that context. I feel like maybe culturally or like my mindset is quite Western, but then I feel also some of my values are more Asian in influence.
You're banana, but actually you're still quite yellow on the inside though, right?
I guess so. This is the thing, I don't know to what extent, which is why I think this is like an interesting topic as to talk about.
I think because like, you'd look at me and you'd think, oh, do you know what, he's Chinese? And like, if you put me in China, you'd expect a Chinese accent out of me, right? But then like, if I'm put in Hong Kong, put in China, or even here really, and then an English accent comes out, I feel like that's when I feel most banana.
For me, like, I definitely feel it if I went to Asia.
Yeah.
Just because my language isn't there, like, at the same sort of fluent native level. And then also just sort of, being used to the culture, the society, the way of living over there.
Yeah.
I've not been back many times.
Okay.
So for me, that was something where I wouldn't feel like I'd fit in. So I think the other day I watched a video where someone was talking about being an invisible tourist, because you go there and you don't know the local norms, but people expect you to just because of the way you look. So even the other day I was in a Wetherspoons and it was very kind, but like a lady came over because the machine wasn't working, and then she said to me in Mandarin like, oh, the machine's not working. Well, I can only assume that's what she said because she pointed to it and I could see there were sort of a few crosses and things like that. And it's very kind, and I could utter thank you, at least in Mandarin. So I don't think it's always a bad thing, but there is, even here, I can still see places like, or situations where I know that I'm not quite the same as them in some ways as well. So
here you weren't really the invisible tourist. You were almost the person who should have been at home but wasn't treated as so.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
Oh, it was nice that we could still communicate, I think. Like, that's something that I think is really nice. And the fact that she was actually felt willing in a country that was probably not her own to come up and like try and help me. So I really appreciated that. But at the same time, I guess one thing that I do want to do myself is to learn Mandarin, just so that I can communicate or at least understand what people are saying to me, because I think given in the world we live in, it would be a useful and helpful language to have.
Yeah, well, I've been in that situation as well, and my feeling is I should have paid attention in Mandarin school. But me going through Mandarin school though, it's like I went for 3 years, I think, and every year, instead of going up a class, I went down a class. Just because I was like so young, and I was like, Mom, why do I need to speak Mandarin? Like, because at that point I didn't hear anyone speaking Mandarin, and the Chinese community in the UK was predominantly Cantonese, so all Cantonese speaking. And I could speak Cantonese then, but it's only now that I'm older and I realise, do you know what, Mandarin's like the most widely spoken, or the most spoken, or maybe spoken by the most people in the world. Or was it English?
I thought it was Spanish.
Is it Spanish? Or one of the top three, right?
Yeah, one of the top three.
We'll fact check
top
that.
three.
But it's in the top three. And like I would go back to Hong Kong or like China and not be able to speak it, and it'll be a little bit embarrassing.
So or like when you go to restaurants, and most dishes that I normally eat, I can do in Cantonese. But then occasionally I'll go with a friend and they'll be like, oh, I'd like to try this one. And I'll just know that I can't do that one. I'll just be like,
this one, please. Vincent, you've spoken about in Hong Kong asking for the English menu or the picture menu in a previous episode.
Yeah. My Cantonese it's spoken, it's quite good. Like the accent is quite good, just because when I was growing up, I played with my cousins a lot. Like I'd go to Hong Kong for like the whole summer and I'll speak a lot of Cantonese. So my Cantonese, like the accent is actually quite good. So I'd go into a restaurant and I'll say, like Long Wei or something for like two people, and they'll sit me down and then they'll be like, what do you want to order? And I'll be like, let's have a look at the menu. And then they'll pass me the menu and I'll be like, what is this? And there were a few times where I was like, okay, I know it's a cha tan tang. So I know there's going to be like the standard dishes like the wonton mee and the lai cha and all of that. So like the wonton noodles and the milk tea. So I just order that just because I couldn't read the menu. That made me again feel like a banana, because I was like, I can't even order like standard things in a local restaurant. But your experience is quite different though, because you...
Yeah, so growing up, it's not... I didn't like speaking Cantonese. And I was always very nervous, or someone from family would ring over the phone when you had like the good old landline phones. And to be fair, at that point they were handheld, but then they'd ring over, and apparently what I would do is I would throw the phone down and go running to my parents and say, oh, it's someone Chinese on the phone. And like, my poor relatives were left on the floor.
Yeah.
Just being like, what the heck's happened? Someone's picked up and now there's nothing. And it wasn't until I was a bit older, I think maybe 16 or particularly at university, where I started thinking, actually, no, I'd like to be able to speak the language better and try to better improve it. Because I think it's not just the fact it's a skill, it's the fact it's like communicating to like your parents, your family, your relatives, in a way that's more natural for them as well. And I think it gives you a better sense of, even though it's language, it's a better sense of understanding of where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think also sometimes, like, when you translate things over, there's certain nuances or maybe phrases like eat hay that you just don't get in English.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure it's the same when you translate lots of different languages. But because of that, if you have a grasp of the language, then conversation can flow that much better.
Yeah.
And it gives you a better relationship, I think.
If I were just to speak English, I wouldn't be able to communicate with my grandparents. Like, bless their soul, they're not with us anymore. But like, I think a big part of me, like learning Cantonese, was actually to speak to my cousins, my uncles, aunties, grandparents.
And I think I agree. I went through the same phase when in my teenage years, which is I don't want to talk in Chinese to relatives on the phone. And it wasn't so much because of not wanting to speak Chinese. It was just I don't really know them. It's been so long since I've seen them. So I try to avoid that. I actively tried to avoid that.
What was the trigger then, like, for the both of you? It's not like one day you're like, do you know what, I'm going to speak Cantonese today. Like, what made you transition from being shy to, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go, I'm going to speak?
I speak Mandarin at home with my parents all the time. And so it wasn't really shyness. It's more just I didn't like the activity of talking to relatives on the phone. And
is it because you didn't like your relatives, not because you didn't want to speak Chinese?
No, I love my relatives, but there's also the other part is they ask awkward questions. They're very Chinese, right? So they're very prying into your lives. It's like not just, oh, how are you? It's more like, how did you do in your latest school exams, and have you communicated this with your parents? And I'm like, why are you trying to give me advice here? We haven't communicated for so long that you don't know very much about my life.
Yeah.
Right. So why are we doing this? So that's sort of the Chinese part, I think, or the Asian part, and I didn't really like that one. I tried to get away with it, or get away from it. But then I think it was around university time, and I started moving away from my family, or my parents, and I started wanting to go back to my mum and dad. Then I kind of started to see the parallel of, oh, my parents want to speak to their parents as well. And they're proud of me, so they want me to speak to their parents. And I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for my parents.
I think maybe similar in the sense that sometimes their questions can be quite direct. And because I think because we're family, they can ask those questions. But because your relationship isn't that close, you don't feel comfortable, particularly when you're a teenager, answering those sort of questions. I mean, I would also say probably for me, just the language element is, they ask those questions and I don't really know the sort of language.
How to answer it. So in English, like, you would be able to say, oh, do you know what, in chemistry I was top of the class or whatever, but in Cantonese, it's just a bit harder to say.
Yeah, and it's just a bit harder, a bit more awkward. Yeah, I just didn't really fancy it.
They do ask,
which is really bad, but
it's quite funny. Like, there was one summer, like, me and my sister went back, and Asian uncles and aunties love to comment on your appearance.
Yes. Not just appearance, everything.
Literally, like,
on everything.
You've gotten fatter, you lost weight, why didn't you shave, you need a haircut. I'm like, nice to see you too.
Yeah, so you put a bit of weight on, and it's, well, you're fat now. You lose a bit of weight, it's like, oh, you're thin, you need to eat more.
Yeah.
And there is no perfect weight, almost. It's almost like you're forever too fat or too thin.
Yeah.
I think it comes out often of a place of care.
That is true.
I think at the end of the day, and it's easy to forget that.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of their comments, actually.
Actually, no, it's true, because like, it is, like, you're right, it is a place of care. Like, I think my uncles and aunties, like, they love me dearly. It's just, maybe it's like the language thing, because like in a Western society, you wouldn't go see like your niece or nephew and be like, you've gained a few pounds. Like, but in Asian culture, it is actually likely, okay.
Yeah, or it comes up a lot more often.
Yeah.
I think also, like, comments like that are a lot more, I guess they still are acceptable in Asia, whereas things like emotions, like how you feeling, is something that I don't think Asian culture really does that much.
No, don't talk about it.
My dad is terrible at communicating like feelings.
Hey, don't talk about it, Dad. I'm terrible at communicating emotions. So like, that is not even our ancestors or parents. It's like, I feel that.
I think my family in general, we're quite good at emotions. But I think for myself, I've done my own work for myself as well to improve on that side. But I do find it funny when you talk to relatives, and then occasionally you might try, love you, or like something at the end of a conversation. And to friends, I would say that. But then you say it to family, and then you just get a as the response, and you're like, okay, cool.
That is true. I think I've got like really close cousins that like I'd say I love you too. Like genuine, like, because we're like brothers and sisters. Some of them are, like, but even with like my like uncles, auntie, even between them, like the communication isn't great. And I wonder if that's just an older generation thing though. We just talk more.
I think we have more time to talk. And we have more time, more energy, I think. And
more means to talk maybe as well.
Yeah.
Because like before, like when they had to call each other, it'd be on the landline costing like £1 a minute. But now like WhatsApp, video call, it's so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot more available to us. I think that's true.
Well, how often do you go to Hong Kong?
Rare. Yeah. I think I've definitely less than 10 times probably.
Do you have family there?
I have family there.
Okay.
Is it majority of your family there? Or?
Maybe I don't entirely know. I have got some of like closer relatives over there. I think it would be nice to go back more often, but at this point, I've been so few times. I don't know, like other people in my family say, oh, you know, this street or this market or this area, and I just have no reference
I know
to
some
that.
streets in Hong Kong, like Lan Kwai Fong.
Everyone knows that. Yeah. I think it's quite nice though, because actually I was having lunch with my auntie. Actually, it was quite a lot of us, like aunties came over to visit. And we're all, it's like 12 of us around a table. And it was quite nice being able to say, oh, have you been to this place? Like, they still do the traditional dim sum where they push the cart. And like, mum went last time and got shouted at, because like, you know, Cantonese service, they like shout at you if you're a bit slow. Mum was a bit slow, so she got shouted at. And it was quite nice, like, just being able to connect on things like that is back in Hong Kong and where sort of your ancestral home is. And another thing is, I think I'm actually very grateful my parents made a conscious effort when I was young to either bring me back to Hong Kong kind of most years for like the summer holidays or whatever, or if we don't go to Hong Kong, my cousins would come stay with us.
Okay.
And we'd play for the whole summer. And because we were playing the whole summer, we'd be speaking Cantonese the whole summer. And I think that's how I picked up Cantonese sort of spoken to the point where I can actually speak it with quite a decent accent. So I would say any parents nowadays with kids and you want to keep them in touch with your language and your roots, I'd say make a conscious effort to bring your kids back to Hong Kong or like get to play with cousins.
Yeah, I think that's true, because growing up, whilst it wasn't necessarily from Hong Kong, we did have other cousins who were over here, but like their parents obviously spoke Chinese. And so I remember growing up would be the time when you're trying, when my cousins have gone to bed, and so we're waiting to go home, and there's nothing to do but sit and listen to the parents chat. And so I think that's probably where quite a lot of my language learning might have come from. In the sense of, like, at that time there wasn't really a lot, you know, the TV wouldn't be on, they'd just be talking. And through that, you just have to learn, or like, you just learn to listen and better understand what they're saying. And to the point that I think, because when we were growing up we had that, then my Chinese was better. And so I remember at one point, my language was good enough that I could sort of watch films and watch dramas in Chinese, or like Cantonese for me. And then later on, I think maybe sort of 16 or 18, I remember thinking, oh, I remember watching a certain film and like, just for nostalgia, why don't I go back and play it? Put it on, realised it was all in Cantonese, and that I also couldn't understand what was going on.
Really? So you could understand it when you were young, but not when you're older?
Yeah. I mean, part of that maybe would be that I just wasn't understanding it as a kid. But I genuinely think that my language skills were better
when you were a kid.
When I was a kid.
Just because you were listening so much.
And there's clips of me sort of walking to school and actually speaking Cantonese, like as a child when I was small. I think perhaps seeing that clip also, I thought,
that's not me.
I was like, where did that go? It would be nice.
Because I learned, Cantonese was actually the first language I learned, because I grew up at home first, right? And then speak to my parents in Cantonese. So that would be the first language that I learned. And then I'd go to school, and then the teacher would have to tell my mum to say, make sure you speak English with him. His English isn't very good, or he's not speaking English enough. And hence why my English has not always been sort of the top of the class. I was always like mid-range, or Did you get the same as well then, or was that just me?
I don't know at home. I think I spoke a lot of English at home.
Okay.
Now I think I actually speak more Chinese at home.
Okay.
Again, I say Chinese. In this case, I mean
Cantonese.
I can't speak Mandarin. So I'd say definitely, better now than I used to be, in terms of like actually making an effort to speak Cantonese.
Because you said like you listened and you obviously spoke it when you were a kid. Then there was a period in your life where you didn't and you forgot it. And then now you're picking it up again and like speaking more, listening more. So like, What made you transition? Like, how did you do it? Is it harder for you to do it that way?
As in transition to making more of an effort to learn
Yeah.
again. I mean, I think for me, I can't specify a point at which I thought, oh, I should learn Cantonese again. I think, I don't know, there was just some part of me that wanted to have a better, I don't know, grip on it, or felt like that I just needed to.
Get in
Maybe
touch
it's
with
like
your
part of
roots.
part of my roots, part of my identity in some
Yeah.
ways.
Wait, how long ago was this?
I'd say most of my effort was probably at uni.
Okay.
And maybe part of that's growing up, like I did quite a few sort of different activities outside of school, and then also there's always school. And I was one of those kids that, you know, studied hard, wanted to do all the homework and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason is growing up and sort of losing Cantonese, Chinese. Even though I went to Chinese school, I think maybe that in that case it's because I saw Chinese school as enough in terms of the Chinese aspect of my life. Like it's enough, plus like family occasions and whatever. Whereas then going to uni and then not having that aspect, especially and then moving out from home, I think maybe made me realise that made me feel something was missing in some ways, or like maybe it's my way of missing home.
Okay.
And
So uni was very like, you hung out with white people, you spoke a lot of English, and then you felt like you weren't as connected to the Cantonese side.
Maybe in some ways, I think, particularly perhaps first year, not out of deliberate choice,
Yeah.
but just like that's who I became friends with. Perhaps not everyone, as in like not everyone was white,
Yeah.
and that's it. But perhaps so that's like how it came about, and maybe having a bit more free time as well.
Do you think social media helps as well? Because you can see a lot more Asian representation on social media.
Maybe. There was one period where I really got into a group called Cantonese. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah.
But it's like a group of 3 guys who sort of do Cantonese Mandarin like sketches or just skits.
Yeah.
So I think ones that I particularly enjoy is where they have a guy who only speaks Mandarin, and they have one of their nans who speaks Cantonese, and she's trying to teach him how to cook a recipe. And it's just watching her trying to say, oh, can you get something? It's like a bowl, like a cloth. But he doesn't know what that is, and so he's like running around with like a ladle or like a pot and asking, is it this, is it that?
I think I can pick up some of this. So, you know, when Vincent, you were saying about food earlier, like cha santing, I get what that is, and nai cha, I know what that is. But you know, when you reeled off like 6 different things in a row, I'm like, I can't keep up with this, because every time you mention something in Cantonese, it's
longer to process,
it's
right?
really long for me to process, because I'm trying to figure out, is it this? It's this. This is what he means. I got it. But then by that point, you've already moved on. So I can definitely like feel that.
My story is when I was young, and with like mum and dad used to take me to like Wing Yip or Long Fong or you know, the Chinese supermarkets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mum, Dad, I don't want to go to Chinese supermarkets. Why are we here? It smells a bit funny. And like, why can't we just go to Sainsbury's and get my Dairy Lunchables, which all my white friends are eating? So I was a bit like that when I was a kid. But now, like when I'm older, I'm like, no, I want to go to the Chinese supermarket first. I want to go get my noodles, my like ingredients for hot pot, or like, I just want to go to the Chinese supermarket because that's the food that I want to eat. Yeah. And it sounds a bit like that for you with language, right? Because, you know, you spoke Chinese when you were young. I ate Chinese food. Then there was a period in your life where you're like, do you know what, I want to speak, well, I'm speaking English, or me, I want my Dairy Lunchables. And now as we grow older, we want to get back in touch with our roots. So you're speaking more Mandarin, I'm going to Chinese supermarkets. I wonder if this is because we're growing up and wanting to connect more, or is it now modern society that we're more in touch with our roots? Like, we want to know where we come from.
I think it's more of an age thing as well. I think as you grow older, you miss what home is. You miss the food okay, we have this running joke, I don't like food, but I do miss home cooking.
Yeah.
And I do miss food mum makes, and I love going to the Chinese supermarket and picking things off the shelf, you know.
Yeah.
All the greens that you don't get in a Western supermarket.
Asian veg is so much better than Western veg.
So
what about
me,
you?
Yeah, for me it's nostalgia and
Nostalgia then.
childhood, yeah.
To be fair, it's similar on the food front. I just remember one day feeling like I just need to eat rice. And it's really weird because growing up I always used to be, oh, when can we eat chips, or when can we eat, I don't know, spaghetti bolognese? Like, we always eat rice. We eat rice every day.
Yeah.
And just going to uni and thinking, I could do with a bowl of rice. And I was just so surprised at myself because I just hadn't really felt that way at all. And I thought, yeah, okay. Time to get the rice cooker out, which thankfully my parents have said, yes, you will need that.
Yeah. Every Asian has to have a rice cooker.
Yes.
I didn't go to uni with a rice cooker, but I learnt from Tak. Shout out to Tak. I learnt from Tak, who was like, well, this is how you do it with a saucepan. So I just did it with a saucepan on the hob.
That is one skill that I've not learned, is how
Rice
to...
cooker?
No, rice in a pan. I remember one of my friends asking me, oh, can you boil some rice?
You don't need to. Asians don't do that. We just use a rice cooker.
Exactly. And they were just saying, oh, you know, there's the pan, here's the rice. I just thought, what am I meant to do? I don't know how much. And sitting there reading the instructions, I'm like, don't you know how to do this? Like, don't you eat rice? And I was just like...
So you're Asian and you don't know how to make rice. But then rice cooker, that's why rice cooker was invented. It's Chinese school. What was your
Did you go to Chinese school?
I did go to Chinese school.
Okay. Which one?
No
Or
idea.
where?
It wouldn't be near you anyway, because you're like all the way southwest. Mine was southeast, sorry.
Yeah.
I was northwest. But
Okay.
I went when I was really young though, primary school. And I remember I was like, what am I doing here? Didn't like it. What was your experience?
Similar. I went to one in Greenwich though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's one in Greenwich. And the reason was, I think it is that my dad was quite insistent that I learn traditional Chinese, like in terms of written, because he said a lot of the meaning of characters is in the traditional characters, not the... and then when it's got simplified, you lose a bit of that. And I think also the idea is, if you learn the traditional, then it's easier then to switch over to simplified. Similar to if you learn to drive a car, then learning in manual means at least you get the options of both. Then you can, exactly, move to automatic. So I guess one thing that I often explain to my friends is like written versus spoken Chinese.
It's very different, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. So you can, and the fact that you can do both ways. So you have sort of your traditional and your simplified written, and then spoken, I mean, you have your Mandarin, you have Cantonese, but you also have many other different dialects.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think typically the association is Cantonese spoken goes with traditional characters, but I don't think this is always the case. I just think maybe that's what used to be more the case in Hong Kong.
Yeah, because Hong Kong is written in traditional.
So that's typically the case, but then you'll find cases, for example, Taiwan, where they speak Mandarin, but a lot of what they write is in traditional.
It's really funny, they actually speak Mandarin there. And I don't speak Mandarin, I just speak what people think is Mandarin. So mainland China speaks Putonghua. But yeah, Taiwan actually speaks Mandarin.
Wait, 普通话 is Mandarin?
No, it's not.
Is it not?
I'm sorry, this thing, I wasn't expecting that either.
It's not exactly.
So there's different types of... I know there's different dialects, like Shanghainese is different to Mandarin.
Yeah.
So 普通话 is not Mandarin.
I don't think it's exactly the same, no.
So what's the difference?
I don't know, I can't explain it to you, but I know, I know. The difference is 普通话 is spoken in mainland China, Mandarin is spoken in Taiwan. And
Mandarin is spoken in China?
No, it's not.
Or is it just it's like different forms of Mandarin?
It's different forms of Chinese. It's all Chinese.
It's all Chinese. Okay.
It's just three
so
whitewashed Asians trying to figure out what they speak in China.
Go on Wikipedia, find out.
That's really blown my mind as well. I always thought that.
I'm going to fact check you on. Okay, there are definitely different dialects.
There are different dialects as well.
Written, though, it's all the same in China.
Yeah,
written is all the same.
It's basically it was all traditional Chinese until the 1940s or 50s, and then Communist Party came to power and then decided to introduce simplified Chinese. So simplified Chinese you only find in mainland China, traditional Chinese everywhere else. basically that's.
So everywhere else is like Taiwan and Hong Kong, basically.
Yeah,
it's not the mainland China.
And then like Singapore and all the sort of places where there is a Chinese influence on, I think.
Yeah. Do you want to know a really funny story? I was in Shanghai, and I was like talking to this guy. Like this guy was like extremely smart. Like he spoke Mandarin because he came from China, and he was like, "Yeah, I self-taught myself Cantonese." I was like, "Whoa, I can speak Cantonese. Let's talk." But then the Cantonese he was saying is like how you would speak it in Mandarin, but using Cantonese words. So the sentence structure is how it is in Mandarin.
It's different, isn't it?
So he spoke to me. I was like, "Huh?"
Very formal.
It is so formal because like the Cantonese that we speak every day is very colloquial. Colloquial? Yeah. And there's a lot of slang in there as well. And that I never got until sort of going to China and actually learning a bit of Mandarin. I have another story, which I probably told you. I had a friend, his Cantonese wasn't great. And I went to Hong Kong with him together. And he would always like push me to ask like for the menu or order food, or like if we're going shopping to ask for things, he'll always push me because he wasn't confident in his Mandarin, in his Cantonese. And then one time I was like, do you know what, I'm sick of this, like you go do it. And I forced him to do it. And like I could see slowly, day by day, him like coming out of his shell and just speaking a little bit more, to the point where towards the end of the trip, he was like traveling himself, going to different places himself. Okay, he took the wrong boat once. He took the boat to Chengzhou rather than Jimsazhou from Central. So it's like basically going from here to going from here to here, basically. So he took like an hour boat ride instead of like a 5-minute boat ride. But I think actually just like putting yourself in that situation, going back and just not being afraid and just do it step by step. I think that would be my advice to maybe anyone out there who is shy to speak Cantonese.
I would agree. And it doesn't have to be going back either. For example, I've also found friends over here that speak Cantonese, and just asking them, would you talk to me in Cantonese has also been very helpful, I think. And it is a bit odd sometimes, like doing the switch into Cantonese when you're used to speaking English, but they've always been very supportive. And had surprisingly long conversations as well. So yeah, we'd say, reach out to whoever you can here as well.
Yeah.
There'll probably be more people than you expect.